In this lesson, we're going to cover the cut tool that is found in the sheet metal environment. The file that we're going to use for this lesson is called smstyles.ipt, and it can be found in your Chapter 10 exercise folder. For the first portion of this lesson, what I like to do is create a rectangular cut that's going to start 10 millimeters from this front edge, and it's going to wrap all the way around. And what I like it to do is stop at 25 millimeters before it hits this back edge. So what I can't do is I can't just make a rectangular cut and cut it all the way through, being that I don't want it to be 10 millimeters on both sides. So the way that we're going to do this is I'm going to make this front face the active sketch, and I'm just going to stick in an isometric view. I'm just going to draw in a rectangle, and really the only dimension that I'm concerned about in this lesson is going to be the length dimension coming off that edge. But of course you could go back and dimension off these other edge as required. And what I want to do now, if I would go back and do an update, if I would go back and do a cut here, of course the problem would be is that it's not going to wrap itself all the way around, or if I did an extrusion all the way through, of course it's going to be 10 millimeters. So what I want to do next from the 2D sketch panel is I'm going to slide on down here. And I'm looking for the tool called Project Flat Pattern. Yours may be at the top level called Project Geometry. So from that drop-down list, select Project Flat Pattern. And what that's going to allow me to do is actually select faces that develop up the flat pattern. So in this case, I'm going to select the very back face. And as I rotate my screen, you'll see that all of the faces that define that part are coming back off into our single piece of geometry here. So now what I can do is I'm going to dimension this as though I were going to dimension that off of the regular edge. In this case, it's the projected flat pattern. And let's make this 25 millimeters. Click Return. Let's exit out of the sketch environment. Now I can go back and do my cut. The profile is going to be my rectangle. And the important part here is I want to click on Cut Across Bend. And this is the major difference between this and the Extrude tool, where I can now not only designate the distance, or I can have it cut across the bend. So let's rotate the model around. You can see that our cut has definitely gone in. I'm at two different values here. Let's just go back and verify that. Under the Tools pull down, select on Measure. Select my two parallel edges, and you'll see that it's at 25 millimeters. So let's verify that. Under the Tools pull down, select on Measure Distance. I'm going to select my two parallel edges, and you'll see that my distance is at 25 millimeters. For the next portion of this exercise, let's rotate the model around. When we're doing our cuts across bends, it doesn't necessarily have to be a rectangular cut or a slot. What I like to do in this case, I'm going to make this bottom face the active sketch. Let's rotate the screen around just a little bit. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw on a circle right on that edge. And let's place a couple dimensions on there. We'll make it 60 millimeters in diameter. And let's dimension it off this back edge. Let's place that in at 40. Click Return. Again, from the sheet metal features, select on Cut. I'm going to select the circle. So in this case, let's say I do not select Cut Across Bend. Just go ahead and click OK. If I zoom back up on this, you'll see that that circle is only cutting through the material thickness. So let's go back and edit that feature. So from the browser, I'm just going to double click on Cut 6. And let's check Cut Across Bend. So now the circle goes all the way through across all the different bends. For this last example, let's make this front face the active sketch. I'm going to place in a polygon. Let's go with 6 sides, the default, that'll be fine. We'll place that in, done. Let's go ahead and place in a constraint. So create constraint. Let's place in horizontal. Just going to hit D on the keyboard. Let's dimension this across the flat. We'll place it in at 60. Again, return. But what I'd like to do with this polygon shape to do is cut it so it's only going halfway through the material, so not all the way through. So I'll go ahead and click on Cut. Select our polygon. cut across the bend. But for the thickness, I'm just going to place in there divided by 2. Click OK. And now my polygon is only going halfway through the material thickness.